Business moves at lightning speed, so you need access to real-time consumer data. Only Suzy offers an AI-powered research platform with quant and qual from their owned audience panel, so you can unlock actionable insights right now. Go to suzy.com/tearsheet to learn more. Today on the Tearsheet Podcast.
Our opportunity and our excitement around Microsoft is how we've extended the Microsoft Cloud to specifically build in our data and AI capabilities into the extensive capabilities of our cloud, from compute all the way to the desktop applications, to the collaboration applications, to the business applications. And the idea around taking the cloud capability and extending it to specific financial services applications and products and services with Wipro has been exciting, bringing the industry expertise along with the technology, along with the industry know-how to actually think about building these capabilities.
Welcome to the Tearsheet Podcast, where we explore financial services together with an eye on technology, innovation, emerging models, and changing expectations. I'm Tearsheet Editor-in-Chief, Zach Miller. I'm joined today by Bill Borden, Corporate Vice President, Worldwide Financial Services at Microsoft, and Suzanne Dann, CEO for the Americas at Wipro. They discussed their collaboration on leveraging Azure OpenAI to enhance generative AI in finance, and this partnership focuses on improving customer experiences, streamlining processes, and ensuring responsible AI practices in the finance industry. Bill told me that, quote, his goal at Microsoft is to build products and services that truly meet the unique needs of financial institutions. And as Suzanne puts it, her role is to help clients digitally transform by bringing together the right industry expertise, technology, and integration experience. Altogether, we'll explore how cognitive assistants powered by generative AI are reshaping customer interactions, loan originations, and even the broker experience, all while maintaining a focus on security, reliability, and expanding AI access across the sector. Bill and Suzanne are my guests today on the Tearsheet Podcast. Hi, Suzanne. So who are you and what do you do?
Well, great to meet you, Zach. Thanks for having us. Suzanne Dann. I am responsible and the CEO for the Americas business for Wipro, which part of my remit includes financial services. So terrific to be here.
Welcome.
And what I really do for a living is I help clients digitally transform, providing the right industry experience, technology, and integration experience, and also help them in terms of running many parts of their business.
Awesome. Welcome to the show. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Terrific.
And Bill, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, Zach. Great to be with you. I'm Bill Borden. I'm Corporate Vice President at Microsoft. I lead our worldwide financial services industry group. So that industry is focused on banking, capital markets, and insurance organizations. And so our industry team works across Microsoft to ensure that we are building our products and services and working with our software providers and engaging with our field sales and delivery teams to serve the unique needs of the customers in this industry.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, Bill. Nice to meet you. And of course, you guys aren't here by chance. There's a partnership that's to be talked about and unpacked. Let's talk about what that partnership is and what each party brings to that partnership. And of course, I would just want to preface this that we have not had a podcast over the past 9 months where generative AI has not been mentioned in the podcast. But this one's going to be the focus, which is interesting. But Suzanne, maybe you want to start with telling us what it's all about.
So the partnership is one that feels very obvious probably to Bill and I of us coming together. So with Microsoft having their platforms, software technology, and everything they're doing around AI and Azure OpenAI, combined with Wipro's technology services, our consulting experience, and both of us bringing that industry experience around financial services and knowing our clients, coming together to build AI solutions for our clients from beginning to end and solving their real problems with AI is the power of this partnership. And we're beginning with this concept of cognitive assistant. So how you can really enable those who are doing the real work in financial services, better intelligence around how they can support their clients in terms of the work that they do, faster, higher quality, better data, better insights. And that's really the power of this partnership.
That term cognitive assistant, I like that because I think it's quite descriptive and a little bit different than some of the other products out there. Um, can you give the listeners a little bit of feel for what I guess how it would assist cognitively a user or a client?
Yeah, happy to. So I really do believe this concept of cognitive assistance has the power to change how we think about financial services and how we interact with, whether it's our banker or whether we're going to initiate a loan or open a new account. Having the ability for that, whoever is assisting you or the assistant that is assisting you to interact and know about you, have insights into what your personal background is, your history, understanding what type of product might be best for you, answer your questions, and provide context. So it's not like a chatbot that is not intelligent. It has all the intelligence built in. And that's the real differentiator between what we might think of as the initial chatbots that didn't really have the insights and expertise and what we see today and what we're building in these cognitive assistants and truly making the experience more rich and more self-aware, almost like you're talking to a human who has all of the knowledge. I almost think of it as the superhuman who knows everything about the products and services you're looking for.
That's a good point that you make, Suzanne, because I was going to ask about that. Like there was, I don't, it might have been like 8 years now that we went through a sort of as a reporter and an analyst in the industry went through a whole chatbot, almost like a hype cycle. And unfortunately, I mean there are some exceptions, but most of those did not necessarily pan out. And I guess I want to double click on that and understand like what's different right now. It sounds like you're saying it's the intelligence piece that's different than what the chatbots were before. Because the promise was something similar, right? The promise was how do we provide customized, engaged interactions with clients at scale automatically, right?
Yeah, and I'll let Bill add to this, but what's different about Gen AI is it's constantly learning. And it is about what data you can provide it to learn from. So information about you, your background, where you are in your life, what's important to you, what other
Like
products
what
and
a human
services
should
do you
know
have,
about me,
what a
right?
human should know, what
Yeah,
your banker might know about
right.
you, or your
Should, yeah.
broker might know, what your financial advisor might know about you.
Mhm.
And then you put that together with the massive amounts of volume of data that's out there around market data and what's happening in the market, what's happening in the economy that may influence what you decide to do. And the ability to bring that together and constantly iterate and give it feedback and learn is the power of what generative AI offers us and these cognitive assistants. And it's not just generative AI, it's taking advantage of other technologies that are out there like natural language processing in
Mhm.
terms of reading documents, predictive analytics, semantic analysis to understand the tone of something that's written. Is it positive or is it negative? So it's now able to bring that all together. And that's what we're building on the Azure platform with OpenAI and with Microsoft is building these assistants that provide these richer experiences and also make the financial advisors or the bankers or brokers more efficient and have a higher quality experience with their client. I don't know, Bill, if you want to add on the cognitive part around what Microsoft is doing, I think you could add probably some color there.
Yeah, I do. And it goes back to the question earlier about the partnership, right, between our companies and how we're working together. So look, our opportunity and our excitement around Microsoft is how we've extended the Microsoft cloud to specifically build in our data and AI capabilities into the extensive capabilities of our cloud, from compute all the way to the desktop applications, to the collaboration applications, to the business applications. And the idea around taking the cloud capability and extending it to specific financial services applications and products and services with Wipro has been exciting. Bringing the industry expertise along with the technology, along with the industry know-how to actually think about building these capabilities. One area, as you talked about, Zach, is the idea of making chatbots really smart is a great area to focus on with generative AI. And as Susan was talking about, the idea of the power of large language models at scale that we now can access, anybody can access, right? With the ability to access them through natural language processing in any language. That's the power, that's the unlock. And that's what
Mhm.
happened in 2023. And so now the idea of thinking about that unlock and how we apply that and how we think about the use cases that are going to be priorities around front, middle, and back office users, the idea of where you can rethink and reimagine engineering, your whole business process approach to this. I think we really have to think about generative AI to actually think about rethinking, right, the possibilities around the use of this technology. And the chatbot area is a great area because I think we've all been disappointed, Zach, as you're alluding to around that area. And the concept of generative AI actually being a partner to the human experience is where Microsoft has really been focused. We really do view this as human direction and guidance in partnership with the generative AI technology, which is why we've come up with the design element of this being called copilots. So we really do view it as we really do view it as a copilot, not an autopilot. And when you apply it in the context of a chatbot, right, enabling that chatbot to really have the expertise, the ability to reason over large amounts of data, to actually do that real time, to bring in the sentiment that Suzanne was talking about, to actually provide a much more rich answer, and to actually reason and learn over that answer in real time in partnership with an advisor or a customer service agent online with that customer is really changing the dynamic and the power of what we're bringing to the market.
Appreciate that. And from the news around the partnership, it sounded like there were two use cases that you guys were starting with, which was loan origination and investor onboarding. Why did you guys start there? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one. So one use case before we even picked loan origination and the onboarding, we implemented with a large insurance company a use case in which we used Azure OpenAI to improve the broker experience. They were constantly calling the contact center to understand membership and processes and forms and policies. And in order to make that a better experience, what we used is brought all that large volume of documents together, and using AI provided a much quicker contextual ability for the brokers to ask the questions and get quicker, higher quality responses.
Oh, it was the
back.
brokers when you had the questions initially?
The brokers.
Okay,
so they were constantly questions like, ooh, I don't know, that's an interesting question around our membership, or around policies and intricate questions they might have around what the insurance policy might be and what some of the caveats in it that they need to communicate to their clients. So they would look through, and they have to go through large volumes.
They'd have to go through the fact themselves, or they would have to put in some
or they
type
call
of
the
request.
contact center and say, can you look this up for me? Because I don't have time to do it. So now they can use this cognitive assistant, either through the contact center agent can use it, or they can use it to answer their questions. So what really I think is the power is this ability to go through not just being knowledgeable, but going through massive, large volumes of information, and the training that you can do through this, and really provide a much better experience, not just improve productivity, but just make them more intelligent. And I do believe Microsoft, the way they've shared this like co-pilot, I love this concept because it really is about the assistant. And I love the concept of this cognitive assistant because it really is a smart, almost having the smartest person next to you, knows everything about what you do, sitting next to you to help you be better at your job.
That's an interesting case because it sounds like to me, by making the broker smarter and more efficient in doing what he or she needs to do, you're unlocking the experience at the institutional level. As a customer, it's not just I'm getting better advice or faster advice from the broker. It's actually I'm through this co-pilot experience, my broker is helping me have a more fluid experience in the organization in general. Like to me, it's a step beyond, or a node beyond just the individual interaction I'm having with a service provider.
Yeah, and it's great. We're seeing so many of these POCs moving to production. I know, as Bill is seeing with a lot of the clients on Microsoft platform, which is wonderful. More and more of these use cases, like you said, loan origination, client onboarding. There was some statistics that Moody's came out with that half the time is spent on loan processing, just the manual data, putting in all the manual data to initiate a loan process. And that can be all removed, leveraging AI, OCR to pull out the characters and the information from the documents, putting them in, doing the validation and checking. All of this can be done on the platform, which is where the power of the platform and us providing the use case and the integration with back-end systems really comes to life.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think with the announcement of broad accessibility of the technology in 2023, the idea around how organizations and individuals across all industries using this technology is dramatic, right? We haven't seen the diffusion of technology at this pace, that we haven't seen anything like this before, right? In terms of the usability and the extensibility and the acceptability and the use of it. So there's an expectation by us as individuals, by companies as organizations, that things should be smarter and things should be easier and things should be understanding me right when I want to be served. And so the idea of the uptake of this is rather fascinating, right? We've seen 85% of the Fortune 500 organizations are using Azure OpenAI capabilities. So organizations are starting to use this, right? We're seeing 53,000 organizations plus using this technology. And 65% of the Fortune 500 are using our Copilot for Microsoft 365 as we are building Copilot technologies in our entire technology suite. So organizations are using it, and they're coming to Microsoft and Wipro and saying, hey, we've got lots of use cases, right? How do we understand how to start thinking about doing MVPs and POCs and actually understanding internally how we want to use this technology in a safe and secure way? Because it's not just about the tech, right? It's about
Right.
how you think about the risk management, how you think about compliance, how does it fit within your control structures, and our approach to, building responsible AI that's safe and secure, but also usable by all, is our focus together.
That's a really good point, Bill, that you mentioned that, because I know I guess it was when ChatGPT 3.0 kind of, that was the first time, I guess,
Yes.
our audience, became, it was almost like entranced by the power of Gen AI. There was some unlock there. And we had on some data scientists at the time, I guess this is going back a year already, and they were saying, it was when those New York Times articles were coming out about, the technology hallucinating. And so as you're building safe and reliably, how does the partnership address, like, I guess, accuracy and reliability in this type of content? Because we're dealing with, there's a lot of risk here involved.
There is a lot of risk, and it starts with our platform and tool approach. The development tools that we're building and the platform tools that we're building through our Azure OpenAI Studio and our Azure Copilot Studio, those are the platforms that we're building, our engineering teams are building to build this technology into our entire Microsoft Cloud product suite. We're offering those design studios on the Azure side and the Copilot build side to our customers and to our partners like Wipro. So the guardrails around how we build technology, the inclusiveness around how, and the fairness capabilities and rules that we're building into those engines, the learning process around how do we show visibility into what the models are doing. We're building all types of tools and capabilities into that approach that allows for safety and security and soundness. And as we're learning internally ourselves at Microsoft, we're learning rapidly by making this technology available to our partners like Wipro and our customers. So we're all learning together, right, around how to build responsible AI and to actually make it fair and inclusive. Because the idea is to make this technology available to, all individuals, peoples, and organizations to actually take advantage of it.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Bill. The really amazing thing is it truly has democratized AI and made AI available. Anybody can use it in terms of create, and that never was the case in the early days with machine learning. And you had to be a data scientist or
Data
someone
science.
and have the tools and the platforms, and they weren't as readily available. So that's one piece. The second is, as last year we developed as many companies did, we thought about responsible AI as being key to everything we did. And we actually have a woman who leads, Ivana Bartoletti. She leads our Responsible AI Council, and she represents us both in the US and as well in the EU as policy and regulatory are getting created around AI to make sure we're a part of that. We influence it as well as we understand it. We also created a responsible AI framework. Think of it as a checklist. We take it to all of our clients. Every AI conversation has to go through the checklist to make sure we're being responsible. We're caring for the client's data. We're protecting their data. We're making sure we meet regulatory guidance. There's fairness in the way it's being approached. So we're making sure all of those pieces are covered in our governance framework. The tools Bill mentioned, we're leveraging those tools and building accelerators on top of it. We're doing things, we're calling it the Wipro framework, the Vega framework. And really, it's a number of tools to help make sure that the LLMs that we build or leverage are used in a manner such that we're not getting hallucinations. And we're able to contextualize the data that is being prepared. And we have the checks and balances in place. So as we build these, we're learning and building more and more accelerators on the platform to make sure we're not only being responsible, but it's being governed and that the feedback loop is there. And we're doing that consistently for all of our programs. And I think that combination of the tools and the processes and approach is what will make sure our clients are successful as they go on their AI journey and they move from pilot and POC all the way into enterprise AI.
And just one other comment on that, Zach, that I would add is Microsoft also is globally working with governments, institutions, thought leaders, sharing our approach to how we're thinking about responsible AI from design and tech all the way to policies and procedures from governance point of view. So the idea is driving the conversation as we learn together globally around how do we use these technologies. We're also spent a lot of time with regulators around the world talking about the technology, sharing our understanding and learnings together so that the regulators around the world are also understanding this so that we can jointly work with our customers as they're building applications and actually talking to their regulatory bodies, right, to talk about how they want to extend and bring those applications to full general availability. We're working in concert, right, in that conversation. And you'll find a lot of the applications that are being done in financial services in particular are more internally focused, right, where they're driving productivity and enhancements internally for productivity gains. The idea is to learn internally, to understand how this works within the construct of your organization's control frameworks and risk frameworks. And then as you learn, then start to extend that to the external marketplace. Chatbots is an area to start to do that. But again, it's chatbots that are controlled and typically involving a human in relationship to how that advice and counsel is provided and given to the external market. So very much internally focused on productivity with the idea of being able to extend more and more, right, externally based applications.
I think that's one of the things that's most impressive this cycle, and going back to our first question, and differentiates against the early chatbot cycle is that not only is the technology, and you guys both said this, not only is the technology advancing so quickly, it's also all the things that go around the technology, the compliance, all these frameworks that you need to do to be able to harness this is also moving so quickly, and that's how this seems so much more real than what was happening last time, because companies are changing, and it's taking a technology out of specific point solutions and moving it into like how does this work across the enterprise now, which is wild. I want to also go back to maybe how it impacts the end user. So Suzanne, you gave us the example of brokers looking for procedural information. How about on loan origination? How do you see user experience being impacted by these types of cognitive assistants?
Yeah, thinking about our own personal experiences around whether you open an account or a loan, how frustrating is it when they ask for the same information the bank already has on, right? They ask for the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. You're a client, you're like, why do I have to fill this out again? Why do I have to provide this? And that's what the real opportunity is. How do you make this a seamless experience, efficient experience, but also has the expectation and quality that you expect? So you expect your information to be automatically populated. You expect it to be accurate. You expect it to be efficient and quick. And you expect it to not have paper. So all those pieces can be done. And that's where we're beginning to build on the loan origination. We actually built already a pilot for a client that we are iterating on with the Azure OpenAI cognitive assistant to start the loan origination process. So being able to submit the forms, upload your documentation that can verify who you are as a person, whether it's a passport or a license, and automatically pre-populate, verify your identity in real time. Doing all that so that you can go through the process in a very quick and efficient manner. And I think that's what all of our expectation is. And, quite candidly, the assistant should be able to do this, but there's got to be that validation process. And the human element does come in at, at some point during the process, but to make sure that, this is something that can really change the way we think about interacting with, whether it's our bank or our wealth management or advisory company.
It
Yeah,
sounds
no,
like,
that's right.
sorry, Bill, please.
No. It's a great example, the loan origination one, but it highlights, what institutions are doing as they think about the entire life cycle from a new customer, and how you actually get them into products and onboard them, and then how do you service them, and then how do you understand their needs, and their requirements so that you can offer more products and services in a way that is contextually meaningful to them when they're looking to make a decision. So as you look at that entire life cycle that everybody's trying to optimize, the idea of rethinking, right, how that experience occurs through all your channels, whether it's online or web or call center, and then understanding how that can impact how you're organized as a business, because typically financial institutions are very siloed around those capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thought process that's happening, that use of generative AI technology is starting to unlock. And so you're going to see lots of things that will help productivity incrementally through that process. But you have institutions also thinking dramatically about how do we actually dramatically change, right, how we organize ourselves to make that more efficient and make ourselves more productive. So it's really interesting company to company to see how some are actually driving incremental capabilities for cost savings or returns, and some are actually rethinking how they might actually reshape their business processes internally a lot. You hear our CTO, Satya Nadella, talk a lot about we're thinking about more like lean processing in manufacturing, where you kind of rethink continuous process improvement. Thinking about that in other industries like financial services is very different, but generative AI is actually pushing that thought process.
Yeah. And Bill, I would agree. It's interesting when we always think about how do we lead the client experience, we think about personas. I mean, there's a handful of personas we might take through their journey, right through life,
Mhm.
and what kind of services and products they might need. Very traditional. With generative AI, we don't have to do that any longer. It truly can be individualized and personalized. They may say, okay, you're a woman of a certain age at a certain point in her life. She needs A, B, and C. But that may be very different than someone who has that exact same criteria. What they want and what I want may be very different. So you no longer have to say they are the same persona. They can be different, and you can target them differently, provide them different products and services at the times when they might need it and engage. And I think that's what Gen AI offers the wealth management community and financial advisors. And we're working with one to do just that, and using things like neural networks on Microsoft to figure out how they're also connected to different people, different communities, different companies, to understand what's important to them as a person in terms
Mhm.
of maybe charity. Are they interested in certain charitable organizations? What is their what are their hobbies? What do they like to do? And if you could bring that all together, you can truly give them a personalized experience.
Right. I guess that example, Suzanne, advisors have been doing that forever, being able to deliver highly personalized advice like that. But rarely has that been institutionalized at the institutional level, like being able to have that purview and that perspective of the customer base. That's a whole new world, really.
Yeah, it could really change the game on how they serve their clients, in terms of not just like what they know in their head, but also understanding beyond what might be out there that they can connect, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to go look up here on their this information on their board profile. Oh, I know this about them. I'm going to go to Bloomberg. I know this about them. You can really put together a complete picture of your client
Mhm.
and figure out how to best service them. And I think that's where the opportunity is.
It's interesting around loan origination. We've had guests on the show, like senior product leaders in financial services organizations, who abandon loan processes. They themselves have admitted this on the podcast when there's a tertiary user experience that requires them to move out of this journey into another journey to go get the form of ID. And they would abandon those processes and choose to use more expensive processes because the experiences were better. It was very clear they were making that distinction. They were abandoning the shopping cart because of some of these clunky, because the financial organizations that are asking for types of data that they should already have and and don't make it easy for them, and choosing to use more expensive services. These were professionals in the industry, know exactly how it works, and I always thought that was a really good example how important like creating that seamless journey is for the end user, particularly with loans, which are have all those multiple components to them. I want to talk a little bit more about the validation. So can we talk about how that would look like within the journey? So is it really that? How are you making it easier for me at the end of the day as an end user, so that I'm not forced to interrupt my journey and jump onto a new one?
Well, end user from a customer engagement
Yeah.
is pretty clear from the standpoint of, at the point that triggers where I have a question or I want to make a decision around a need for a service or product, what's going to trigger where I want to go to do that, right? Do I naturally want to go to my institution that I've been doing business with, or do I want to explore other areas? And so I think on the consumer side, you're going to see lots of applications associated with consumers as they actually, do their search and their inquiries around best products and best solutions. Generative AI technology actually driving decision making around where they should go and where they should think about it, and assigning what their unique characteristics are to service providers out there. So I think that's going to change the game because consumers are going to have different tools to do that. And then I think as you as an institution are going to have to be thinking about, well, how are you going to engage in that process as well to make sure that you are showing your capabilities and products and services at times when consumers are thinking about them. That's going to be the battle, right? Around attention and when does your products and services show up at the time when a customer or an organization wants to make a decision. And so thinking through that process and where your tools and capabilities are going to show up. And that's happening, right? You're seeing that in the payment space, right? As you could be thinking about making a decision to buy something, and then as you make that decision, right, what options come up to actually allow you to pay for the transaction, right? So financial services institutions have to think about their direct engagement with their customers and how that experience is going to change with generative AI. And then they also have to think about where their products and services are going to show up in other experiences where their customers are, so that they are available to actually allow the customer to make that decision or purchase or do the transaction. So, the extension of where you show up in other life stages, and then also how you engage directly, is really how organizations are thinking about architecting their solutions. And generative AI now puts a different twist on expectations around data and knowledge and what you know about me and what I should expect in order for me to make that decision. And the technologies behind that are changing rapidly. And the question is how do you get started? And how do you think through where you want to actually deploy that technology as you think about that full value chain?
I like that. It sort of raises the bar and expectations for like the right product at the right time for the right person. Like it really kind of explodes what we've expected in the past, because the answers can be much more accurate and have much more signal in them, actually.
Yeah. I think generative AI gives the ability for all these financial institutions who have a tremendous amount of data, whether it's a card company, a bank, wealth management, unlock the value of their data to really help their clients. And it's, as Bill said, it's about not just the timing and the placement and the, making sure right product, right service at the right time. But how do you make that experience a wonderful experience? And that's what I think about. So much of the time we spend is on, integration with their back office systems. How do you make sure that their data is available, it's modernized, it's in a place where it can be used to service the client? And that's the opportunity. So you think about this journey we've been on for so long, and everybody modernizing, moving to cloud, and then it's about what data do I have? How do I harness that data? Cleanse, transform, make sure it's in an available form. And now with AI, you truly can build these assistants and these new experiences with that data that you've now made available, and not just structured data, unstructured data as well, whether that be images or video. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity there that we've only just begun to really figure out how to get the value out for our clients. And I think it's going to be significantly impactful for the entire industry over the next few years.
So that's a great segue. Given the fact that we are early in this life cycle, you guys built this partnership together. How are you thinking about the next steps? What's the future of this partnership? Where are you taking it? Like what's on the radar for you guys?
Partnering with Wipro, Suzanne, and her team is really important because customers are now thinking about foundationally what do they need to get in place in order to be able to capture the opportunities and have the ability to move quickly around their priority use cases that they want to actually learn, test, and actually move to the market to actually compete better. So working together to think foundationally, right, around what do you need to put in place around your core technologies to leverage large language models in your enterprise environment, to understand what copilots mean in existing products that you might be buying from Microsoft or other providers that are offering that capability. How do you think about building your own copilots? So all of those capabilities right around how you can enable use cases is one element. As Suzanne mentioned very succinctly, right? The key to all of this is your underlying data structure underneath all of that. And so working on the foundation capabilities around the technologies and then thinking about your approach to data and analytics and your environment, those are key things that have to be in place. And then there are the non-technology things that we're also partnering with our customers to talk about, right? How are you thinking about your risk structures, your compliance structures, your control environments? How are you going to think about how do you present these in a way that you want to offer them in a safe and secure and compliant way? How do you want to organize yourselves around your technology and your business users to actually think about that process? So we're in a consultative mode, not just talking about the technology and how do we get things to POC and MVP in production, but also end to end, how do we think about that enterprise structure that our customers have to put in place to move forward rapidly, right?
I think that's spot on. I envision two things. We'll continue to do the vertical, whether it's loan origination or any other use case we may contemplate as we go through like the user experience journey. But a lot of the work will be in the core
Mm-hmm.
in the core systems, making them available, making the data available, ensuring they have the platforms that can scale and integrate and make those other use cases successful. And that's going to be critical. And that's why it's important not only to have the power of the platform with Microsoft, but to have the system integrator that can think through the entire journey. And also, what do you need to have in place architecturally to make sure this works? And that combination is where the real success happens. And then you can build on from there the use cases that resonate.
So you have the structural component, and do you think the way most companies will start to build Gen AI enabled new products or services will be in small POCs? Is this like a land and expand thing for you? It's like it's the enabling stuff and getting the data and structure to be ready to be able to do this. But then is that first project typically going to be a small one so that companies can learn and get more comfortable with the
So,
technologies?
so one thing I want to just take a step back and we've been working with AI and machine learning for 10 plus
Right.
years, and it's
Right.
embedded in
Mm-hmm.
so many of our products and
Yeah.
services, and so have our financial services clients.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing this for so long. So in terms of AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, this type of work and implementation in different parts of their banks has been there. So
Mm-hmm.
when I say the change and the opportunity with Gen AI is because it unlocks so much, and you have the ability to take advantage of these large learning models. You've got
Mm-hmm.
language models. You can build your own LMs. You could bring that together, and you can develop significantly different use cases. And I think that's where truly the opportunity is. Yes, many clients are beginning with, as we said, internal, looking for productivity gains where
Mm-hmm.
they can gain efficiencies. And starting to, as I said, there's a couple use cases where they're looking to say, okay, can we take advantage of things that we need to do in terms of make our brokers more efficient or make our financial advisors or our bankers more efficient or more intelligent? And that's where we're seeing those use cases develop. And that's why we think this cognitive assistant, just like what Microsoft has done with Copilot, it just seems to be just such a wonderful natural extension for an industry specific assistant where you really can bring intelligence to the table. And I think that's what truly will differentiate what we can take together to the market and help our clients be successful in what they think is important for their clients.
Yeah, no, I think that's well said. And it's a range, Zach. Yes, organizations are starting out with smaller POCs to understand, right, can we take this from concept to something that we can deploy, something that fits within our risk frameworks and our policies and controls, and we need to learn through that process. But at the same time, they're also looking at, ways to actually fundamentally provide products and services differently, or fundamentally rethink how they might be operating certain key business processes. It could be frontline worker, it could be customer service, or it could be deep functionally. It could be how we're thinking about our finance organization, or how we're thinking about our underwriting team, or so there's kind of the functional area looking at opportunities, and then there's the horizontal views, and then there are persona views right around how people are thinking about cases. So I would say it's a range, but I do say that everybody is looking at showing return now. And so Microsoft just did a study with IDC where we looked at some of the return, and what we found is that you can deploy generative AI capabilities and services in less than 12 months. And on average, for every dollar invested in AI, enterprises are returning $3.4 in value. And that's a mix of cost savings, but it's also a mix of new business opportunities associated with that. So within a year, 18 months time, institutions are seeing traction, right? They are seeing the value. But now they want to actually deploy and see how they can get to scale faster. And so that's the journey that we're on. And at the same time, we're also learning that this notion of copilots and agents, Zach, is really interesting when you think about a Copilot that exists today in a Microsoft product like Copilot 365. But if I build my own Copilot that reasons over my product data, what's the interaction around how Copilots can actually engage with each other within an organization? So there's this kind of derivative effect as well around how cognitive agents are going to work with other cognitive agents, either within my environment, or if I want to leverage another institution's cognitive agent, how does that work together? So we're really at the cusp of learning what this is all going to feel like.
Suzanne, Bill, thank you for joining us on Tearsheet Podcasts and sharing about the initial days of the partnership, and good luck in the future. I'd love to hear back from you a year from now and hear what some of the new use cases are. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.